Hi, welcome to the course Anthropology of Time. Let's start with Module 1 called Time and Temporality. Module 1 summarizes the main reference works on the problem of time in philosophy, science, and anthropology. The diverse temporalities of the world are distinguished to amplify the hegemonic character of the scientific notions of time and their implications when analyzing social dynamics in everyday life. This theoretical framework enables the construction of an anthropological theory of time required to perform an ontological analysis of concepts such as development, agendas, accelerated societies, political and economic rhythms, progress, politics of chronology, capitalism, Anthropocene era, among others. In order to clarify possible meanings of frequently used concepts in science such as temporality and time, it is necessary to set up a thorough distinction between both of them. These notions have been indistinctly used in Western thinking since the 16th century, period in which there is a rise of philosophical and scientific works focusing on the problems of their definitions and implications in the understanding of the phenomena. I define temporality as the apprehension of becoming, which every human being accomplishes through his cognitive system in a cultural context, and time as the phenomenon of becoming in itself, which the human being is capable of apprehend as temporality. The sanclac is a useful object to express both concepts. Becoming, time in itself, is distant falling, the phenomenon of particles and gravity without any human intervention. The interpretation of this falling becoming, temporality, is the passage of particles from past to future that the glasses encapsulates. The importance of distinguishing these concepts arises initially from the reading of Fear and Time by the philosopher Martin Heidegger, in which the author presents a definition of temporality different than the vulgar conception of time, as he terms the notion of time conceived as a succession of homogeneous instants. Heidegger suggests that the existential and ontological constitution of the totality of the Dasein is grounded in temporality, and relates this concept to the being toward death and the daily nature. This ontology defines Heidegger the comprehension of all relative to the meaning of the being and his existence, terms that are not often used in anthropology but are present in constructs such as human being, social being, or being in the world. Now, considering the definition of time, this resumes on one hand the famous ideas of the philosopher Immanuel Kant, who clearly and concisely systematized conceptualizations on time and space, arriving at a metaphysical limit which none of the thinkers who follow him reached. In his critique of pure reason in Man's Work Writing in 1781, Kant says, "Time is not an empirical concept that has been derived from any experience. Time is a necessary representation that grounds all intuitions. Time is therefore given a priori. Time doesn't inhere in objects but merely in the subject who intuits them." On the other hand, I resume the meaning of the term phenomena formulated in Being and Time to assert that time is a phenomena. Heidegger says the confusing multiplicity of phenomena designated by the terms phenomena, semblance, appearance, mere appearance can be revealed only if the concept phenomenon is understood from the very beginning of the soul showing in itself. Therefore, the idea of time as phenomenon of becoming in itself arises, the set of formulations made by both thinkers. I resume initially the heuristic definition of time to argue that whenever temporality is mentioned, it is referred to a cultural construction, thus derived from a subject experience, hence not a pure intuition. Time, then, as phenomenon, is intrinsic to every human being, and, on the other hand, temporality, besides intrinsic to every human being, acquires instead a cultural character since it depends on an experience in context, thus constituting an interpretation. Notions of time as conceptualization on the time phenomena placed in a socio-historical context are temporalities. The distinction is useful for not to reduce the phenomenon time to only one interpretation, temporality. This is why the analysis of temporalities through rhythms and rhythmics, as we will see in another class, allows carrying out cross-cultural studies, since it is possible to understand universal as well as particular aspects at the same moment. For this reason, I propose to refer here to temporality, but not to time, when alluding to the notion of time of a socio-cultural group. This is precisely what happens with the hegemonic temporality and what this course proposes to be reconsidered. The indistinct use of time and temporality in the knowledge provided by official education at all levels and the socio-economic context of the capitalist mode of productions contribute to naturalize an equal meaning for both. Therefore, naturalizing the hegemonic temporality as the only possible way of thinking the time phenomena. This happens every day in our society, and in particular in the scientific practice of any discipline. It is naturalized that time can be a measure, a duration, a period, an epoch, an age, a season, the hour, a distance, a division, the calendar, and several other interpretations without a necessary connection between them. To distinguish temporality from time takes to denaturalize the univocal logic, to be able to understand cultural diversity from multiple significations. If a notion of time is naturalized, it becomes naturally unique. Then, all knowledge built from that notion acquires a univocal epistemological character. To continue with the second part of Module 1, let's focus our attention in the difference among hegemonic and originary temporalities. The review of the philosophical and scientific bibliography enables us to understand that behind the notion of linear time imposed by the Western knowledge through different hegemonic processes, a notion of hegemonic temporality was generated and raised to the character of notion of official time for its imposition. This universality and homogeneity is due to the official character that the Western linear temporality has, originated and developed by different hegemonic processes during the past 2,500 years. Here we can observe three columns. At the left side, the name of principal thinkers and social groups identified with them. At the center, the ideas of time. At the right side, the constitutive temporalities of the hegemonic current temporality. The term hegemony derives from the Greek hegestai, which means to lead, to be guide, to be the leader. By hegemony, the ancient Greeks understood that supreme command of the army, hegemon, was the conductor, the guide, and also the chief of the army. With regard to the relationship of this concept with the meaning given here to the term official, I consider the definition of the dictionary of the Spanish Royal Academy. That says that which is the virtue of office, thus that has authenticity and emanates from an authority derived from the state, and not particular or private. From this definition, I resume the absence of indication to the historical moment referred to that authenticity, therefore suggesting a generic temporality, an abstract present, though for any society, without any reference to a socio-historical context for the exercise of the state's authority. It is precisely this abstract and depersonalized character of the validity of a law or knowledge what I seek to describe when using the term official attached to the concept of hegemony. The concept of hegemonic temporality seeks to replace the concept of a Western temporality with which the notion of linear time is usually generalized in Western societies and in the current scientific knowledge. Based on an historical overview, it is understood that this generalization of the linear time hides inside the categorization of temporality associated with processes of hegemonic character, such as the temporality exerted and imposed by the unique calendar in the Roman Empire, the Christian temporality imposed by the Catholic Church through its doctrine of eternal salvation, the ideas of time measurement from mechanical clocks in modernity, the imposition of the monotheist and mercantilist logic in the colonization of the Americas, the establishment of the capitalist mode of production, the industrialization, and the rise of nationalism. The hegemonic temporality is thus defined as the conceptualization of the linear time conceived by Western societies through different processes of officialization with the character of a univocal notion of time. Furthermore, hegemonic temporality is that which imposed to others seeks to naturalize its conception as the only possible one. This process of homologation between what is naturally and univocally given builds up the naturalization of a notion, which, when massively composed, is conceived as an official notion in the habitus. Next concept is originary temporality. The concept of originary temporality has its roots in the ethnographies carried out by anthropologists that include analysis of different notions of time. The study of cultural construction of temporality has been a recurrent issue in anthropology, although being explicitly written rarely. Reference to time conceived by the study groups has been present from the first ethnographies, though always indirectly or subsumed in another subject. Several authors consider Emile Durkheim and Marcel Mauss the pioneers of the anthropological studies on time, known today as anthropology of time. Alfred Gall mentions that anthropology of time can be traced in a well-known passage of the elemental form of religious life, while the social origin of the time category is presented. Gall suggests that Durkheim, in spite of the metaphysical confusions he opened when studying time from the social, was the first one to do it and influenced authors who followed him. He opened through anthropology and sociology the study of a problem always dealt by philosophy. In that sense, it may be said that Durkheim is the interface between the philosophical thinking of time and the anthropological one, a change that made possible to begin to distinguish time from temporality, even though none of the authors who has followed in his footsteps has explicitly written of the necessary distinction between the two concepts. The choice of the term originary for describing this non-hegemonic temporality responds to the meaning of the definitions. That which brings its origin from some place, person, or thing. Hence, originary temporality is defined as all notion of time built by a social group which doesn't conceive it as a unique and univocal notion. It is not about formulating a temporality for each ethnic group by the mere fact of being able to distinguish them, since this would be an unreasonable relativism. It is about denaturalizing the fusion notion reproduced by the state, as well as by the scientific thinking, and that therefore do not enable us to grasp other temporalities within the nation-state. The rhythmical otherness is only possible to be understood if the hegemonic temporality is the center from its unique and omnipresent position. As a rhythmical concept, the originary temporality makes possible to understand the existence of different temporalities coexisting with the hegemonic temporality of a society. The anthropological bibliography shows multiple cases of originary temporalities, mainly described by their distinction from the researcher's temporality or from the scientific notion of the anthropological discourse. Having exposed these definitions, it is stressed the need for working with three simultaneous concepts in order to characterize and comprehend different notions of time: temporality, hegemonic temporalities, and originary temporalities.